Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' initial 53-man roster. Now, this is obviously subject to change. We're going to talk about ways that could change a little bit later on in this video, but if you guys are new here, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button if you do enjoy these types of videos, and leave your thoughts about the Buccaneers' initial 53-man roster down in the comment section down below. So, let's get started here on offense. There are 25 total players on this offense. Starting with the quarterback position, you have Tom Brady, you have Blaine Gabbert, and you have Kyle Trask. Really no surprises there. There were some people who wanted to keep Ryan Griffin as a fourth quarterback, but that just wasn't logical given needed depth at other position groups. So 3 quarterbacks, that's not a surprise here for me. In the running back room, you have Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Giovani Bernard, and Keshawn Vaughn. Again, no surprises there. Maybe pay attention to Keshawn Vaughn, depending on if another running back that the Buccaneers coaching staff deems just a better fit as a runner and maybe even as a special teams player as well becomes available. That could be something that could jeopardize Keshawn Vaughn's spot, although I find that unlikely at this point because, you know, Bruce Arians, the Buccaneers coaching staff, they liked what he did as a gunner. They had him do a little bit of returning. And besides the fumbles, you know, Bruce Arians liked what he saw from Vaughn at running back. So right now, I think it's unlikely that Vaughn is going to go anywhere. In the wide receiver room, you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, and Jaylon Darden. Some people, myself included, were a little bit surprised that the Buccaneers did not carry 7 wide receivers, that 7th one being Jaydon Mickens as just the main returner. But Jaylon Darden, he has won that spot, and, you know, we'll see what happens here in regards to how Darden does as a returner. Overall, I think he will do a pretty decent job. In the tight end room, you have Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, and Cameron Brate. The Buccaneers are not keeping a 4th tight end this year. Tanner Hudson, Cody McElroy, and Jarrell Adams have all been cut or waived. Now, they may bring 1 or 2 of those guys back on the practice squad. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. We talked about that in previous videos. So, yeah, overall 3 tight ends here. All 3 of these guys, rather, have had some injury concerns in the past. I'm already knocking on wood for that. Hopefully, all 3 of them can stay healthy. Along the offensive line, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are carrying 9 of them, and they include Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Alex Kappa, Tristan Wirfs, Josh Wells, Aaron Stinney, Robert Hainsey, and John Molchon, friend of the channel. He made the 53-man roster, which I absolutely love that. I think that that is wonderful. John Molchon, he's a versatile guy, right? He can play guard. He played center now, and I thought he did a very serviceable job. He could probably play tackle if you needed him to. And overall, I think the Buccaneers coaching staff does very much enjoy that versatility with Molchon, and I'm over the moon about this. I'll talk about some fluidity with certain position groups a little bit later on and certain guys who are coming back at some point, but we'll talk about that again later on in the video once we get through these initial 53 guys. Moving on to the defensive side of the football, again, you have 25 players here. Starting off with the defensive line, you have Vita Vea, you have Will Golston, you have Nacho, Raheem Nunez-Roches, you have Steve McLendon, you have Pat O'Connor, and you have Khalil Davis there. 6 defensive linemen to be exact. I know some people, again, myself included, were a little surprised that Jeremiah Ledbetter didn't make this 53-man roster, maybe over a guy like Steve McLendon, but this is going to be one worth monitoring the back half of the Buccaneers defensive line group right now. I'd assume like some guys are safe, like Pat O'Connor, like Khalil Davis. Honestly, probably Raheem Nunez-Roches is safe as well, but we'll talk about Steve McLendon here in a little bit. Outside linebacker, you have Shaq Barrett, you have Jason Pierre-Paul, you have Joe Tryon, you have Anthony Nelson, and then you have Cam Gill, which in my opinion was pretty surprising. Cam Gill, he hasn't practiced or played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a good long while now. He's been dealing with nagging injuries, but the Buccaneers have opted to keep him as that 5th pass rusher. We'll wait and see what happens regarding his situations with his nagging injuries. In the case of outside linebackers, you have Lavonte David, you have Devin White, you have Kevin Minter, you have KJ Britt, and you have Grant Stewart, friend of the channel yet again. And I was overall impressed with what Grant Stuard was doing as a special teams player. Some of his energy that he brought was absolutely infectious, in my opinion. I thought that he just played absolutely just with so much determination, with so much just raw emotion and just gutting it out, right? And I think that is absolutely commendable. And right now it seems like the coaching staff have opted to keep him on the 53-man roster. I am very buzzed and very happy about that. In the cornerback room, you have Carlton Davis, you have Sean Murphy-Bunting, you have Jamel Dean, and you have D. Delaney, who has won that 5th cornerback job over guys like Antonio Hamilton, like Herb Miller, like Chris Wilcox, and all these other different types of guys. And man, you know, D. Delaney kind of came out of nowhere, right? There was a time early on in the training camp, you know, process and all these other different types of things that everybody was talking about Antonio Hamilton and Nate Brooks, myself included. I thought that it was going to be Antonio Hamilton or Nate Brooks. Some people were saying Cameron Kinley, but D. Delaney came out of nowhere. He had 2 interceptions in preseason week 3. He has showed consistent, solid special teams play, and that, you know, opted the coaching staff to put him above guys like Hamilton, who in my opinion was a surprise cut, like Herb Miller, like Chris Wilcox, the final 3 guys who were cut there for D. Delaney to get that job. So yeah, congratulations to D. Delaney. It seems like his spot is probably going to be safe. I imagine there isn't going to be too much fluidity with that. The Buccaneers coaching staff, I imagine, feels pretty solid about the cornerback room right now. And then in the safeties, to finish off the defense, you have Jordan Whitehead, you have Antoine Winfield Jr., you have Mike Edwards, you have Ross Cockrell, and then you have Chris Cooper, which, man, boom, big surprise there, right? First off, in the case of Ross Cockrell, he's going to be playing safety and cornerback. That's just what his role is going to be. He's going to be the 4th cornerback, and I imagine right now as it stands, the 4th safety as well. But Chris Cooper, right? Whoa, that's honestly a big surprise there. The guy came out of nowhere. He was a late signing in training camp. He was brought in just because of injuries to guys like Whitehead and Winfield and some of these other guys. It was also another reason as to why Cockrell had to get moved to safety early on in training camp because, you know, there were just injuries there. They moved Cockrell over to safety and they signed Chris Cooper. And now both these guys seem to be flourishing right now as it stands. And Chris Cooper, I think one of the main reasons he's here right now is because of special teams play, right? He had a phenomenal play in preseason week 3 where he jumped into the end zone, knocked the ball behind him while he was in the air, keeping the ball alive and downing the punt inside the 5. Those are the type of effort plays, especially on special teams, that get you 53-man roster spots. And right now, it is the case for Chris Cooper. And then finally, guys, on special teams, they are carrying 3 right now. It is Bradley Pinion, Jose Borregales, and Zach Tryon. And, you know, let me just say this right now, Ryan Suckup has not been cut. Ndamukong Suh earlier when talking about the defensive line, he has not been cut either. The Buccaneers have 4 players, count them 4, on the illness list. That's what I was talking about earlier with initial 53-man roster and fluidity with certain position groups, because right now, those 4 guys, those 4 being Ndamukong Suh, Ryan Suckup, Nick Leverett, and Earl Watford, they do not count towards the 53-man roster, and they will not count towards the 53-man roster until the Tampa Bay Buccaneers reinstate them from the illness list, and then the Buccaneers will have to make a corresponding move, releasing somebody to give back the roster spots to those guys returning from the illness list. Now, granted, you know, once they're reinstated, the Buccaneers could just say, hey, we're releasing you now outright. That could very much happen. But it could not happen as well, which is what I was talking about with fluidity for guys like John Molchon. I think that, you know, there is some fluidity there with the back half of the offensive line. Right now, there are 2 offensive linemen on the illness list right now. So maybe like even Josh Wells, John Molchon, you know, those 2 are probably the guys that you maybe want to look out for, because I don't think they're getting rid of Aaron Stinney. He has been, you know, just a very solid backup guard. I don't think they're getting rid of Robert Hainsey, obviously, because they just drafted him in the 3rd round. But pay attention to Wells, pay attention to Molchon as well. Maybe the Buccaneers will, you know, decide to just get rid of Leverett and Watford, but they may decide to get rid of Wells or Molchon as well. Wait and see what happens with that offensive line. And then along the defense, you know, I talked about Steve McLendon. Suh is going to be coming back. They may opt to keep all the defensive linemen. and just add Sue outright and cut a different position elsewhere, or they may decide to get rid of a, veteran like Steve McLendon, who is nearing up there in age. He's going to be 36 soon enough. Cam Gill, he's been dealing with nagging injuries. Could you put him on the injured reserve? It's possible. Some people have already speculated that, like Rick Stroud, like Greg Auman, like Pewter Report, among others. That could open up a roster spot for one of these guys returning from the illness list. Grant Stewart, his spot has also got a little bit of fluidity to it. Same thing with Chris Cooper. And then Jose Borregales, you imagine as soon as Ryan Suckup comes back, Jose Borregales will be waived, maybe moved to the practice squad if they can keep him. So you're looking at, realistically, 3 spots of 2 offensive linemen and a defensive lineman coming back from the illness list, because Suckup is just going to take Jose Borregales' spot there. That's pretty much a guarantee. So you have 3 spots. When you look at Grant Stewart, you look at Steve McLendon, you look at Chris Cooper, you look at John Molchon, you look at Josh Wells. That's 5 guys there for 3 spots. Let's see what happens with that. You've also got to incorporate waiver claims, free agent signings, depending on what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to do to add some depth at other positions, which I feel could even jeopardize a guy like Keshawn Vaughn's spot if a good enough running back is out there that they feel would be a better fit over Vaughn. So overall, guys, yeah, let's wait and see. I've talked about guys on the illness list. I've talked about the initial 53-man roster. I've talked about some of the fluidity with certain guys' roster spots right now. But overall, as it stands, all 53 of these guys, congratulations to them. And even if there is a situation where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers move on from 1 or 2 or even 3 of them, depending on illness list and things along those lines, I would have no doubt in my mind that any guy that is let go at this point, there would be strong efforts to bring them back on the practice squad. Again, I have no doubt about that in my mind, but there's a possibility that they could sign with another 53-man roster or be claimed as well. So there's still going to be a lot of fluidity here with, say, the last 6, 7, 5 to 7 spots. And as always, guys, I will have all those updates for you if or when they do happen. But what do you think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 53-man roster, guys, right now as it stands, the initial 53-man roster? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. What do you think about the guys returning from the illness list? Ryan Suckup and Ndamukong Suh, Nick Leverett, and Earl Watford. Of course, Suckup and Suh, those guys aren't going anywhere. So, Jose Borregales, he's probably going to be replaced. But after that, those final 3 spots, potentially Nick Leverett, Earl Watford, and Suh, what 3 guys would you want to see them swapped out for? Do you think the Buccaneers should, bring back Suh, release 1 guy, and then just decide to get rid of Leverett and Watford? Just give me your thoughts about this entire situation, man. Let me know your thoughts about some free agents and waiver claims as well. I'd love to hear it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.